Welcome to Association Chat, the online discussion where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host of Association Chat, Kiki L'Italien, and this is an extremely exciting interview for me today because I have the opportunity to interview a person I have followed and I've read and I've admired and I've even collaborated with on occasion, Julius Solaris. So let me tell you, previously, he's been the founder and editor-in-chief of EventMB. EventMB was acquired in 2019 by Skift, the largest and most influential travel media company worldwide. I ran into Julius when this news was announced, and we were both at IMEX in Las Vegas, and I was just thrilled because I have watched the work that he's done. He's a legend in the industry. He's been named one of the most influential individuals in the meetings industry by many magazines and media over the past 10 years. Julius has conducted some of the most groundbreaking research for the event industry, over 3,000 events reviewed and 15,000 event professionals interviewed. Julius's analysis and reports have been downloaded by over 300,000 event professionals. And 300,000 more read EventMB every month, and over 50,000 event professionals attended Julius's events. And just yesterday, it was officially announced that Julius is the head of engagement at Swapcard. Swapcard is the popular live and virtual events platform that you may have recognized them, you may already know them, but you probably have heard about them recently because they were selected by South by Southwest as their official platform for the South by conference. Whew, that's a lot, right? I am so excited. So, Julius, you're here, head of engagement.
Oh my God. Such a pleasure to be here. Such a pleasure. And you're too kind.
I am honestly, I was so excited to have this discussion today because, and when I saw your announcement that you were stepping down from being editor-in-chief of EventMB on Twitter, I mean, I think I was so fast. I was like, will you let me interview you? I mean, it was that fast.
You were fast indeed.
Julius, the thing is that normally this would all be about you transitioning from EventMB to going to Swapcard. But the thing is that I want to know about the history of EventMB. I want to know about you. People know you and your work, but knowing about you, hearing about how you got your beginning and you know, where the idea for EventMB came from and the ins and outs of developing something that has become such a touch point, such an important resource in the events industry. These are the things that I really, really want to explore and talk about because I think it's just a fascinating topic. So I want to start there. I want to go back and say, okay, where did Julius come from? You know, like, where did you come from? How did you get into the event space? Take me all the way back.
Sure. I mean, this is, this is going to make me feel older than I already am. And because we started quite a while ago now, I'm Italian. I come from Italy. So I did my MBA in 2005, I think it was. In Sydney, in Australia. I was there. I was like contaminated by all these amazing new things happening, and blogs were the cool thing, right? They were the TikTok of today. Like blogs were where it was at, and where it's still at. Honestly, if you're planning to make money outside of if you don't want to dance and make money, I feel blogs are still the way to go. Now we call it content, but it was blogs back then, right? So I think that back then I wanted to, my obsession during my MBA was I want to make money blogging. That was the mantra of all the people searching on Google, because we had no even social media and social networks as such, not yet, at least to the level we know them today. And I moved actually back to Italy, and I started to think about starting a blog. Twitter, Facebook, they were just born right then in 2006, 2007. And I was very fascinated by the intersection between two growing passions of mine, one technology and social media, and the other events. I had always had a passion for events. I was planning my own little things when I was in high school and the likes. And I had some experience before then as, my first official job was running marketing, working in marketing for pharmaceutical conferences in southern Italy. So I, with my limited experience in events and my limited experience in technology, I started to kind of merge the two and start to think about the influence that one could have on the other. So I started to explore and blog about that. They always say that you have to pick a topic for a blog only if you can write 50 articles about it, and that was the only thing I could write about at the time. I was very fascinated by it. I was also very kind of upset at the way events were happening at the time, like the usual formats. There was the time of bar camps and food camps, for those that are old enough to remember those. That was the great moment of the conference as well, which was just starting. So I was very fascinated by the open source movement. So I decided to write about it, and pretty much writing to myself. I started what was called eventmanagement.blogspot.com, which then transitioned into Event Manager blog with, later on with SEO in mind, I guess, not a lot of fantasy there. And really, started writing, and, I was writing to myself. Nobody was reading. Not even my family could read that, because I was writing in English, and nobody could speak English. So I was literally self-pleasing exercise for a few years until it kind of became a business. So yeah, that's kind of the initial part of it from 2007 to 2011. In the midst of it, I had a job as well. I got a job. I moved to London. I started to work as in social media in B2B. So that helped me a lot to understand also what my business model could be like, right? Because I was making $10 a month with Google AdWords, and that wasn't paying the bills, right? So that transition was very important, and that's what kind of things started to change.
Well, that's actually a really great point, because, it's fascinating to even imagine that there was a time when everyone didn't read everything that was posted on EventMB or Event Manager's blog, right? And so to hear that there were a few years where it was like this exercise that you were just, you basically were thinking of it as writing to yourself. But at some point, it became a business. You knew that it needed to become a business. At some point, there was this question about, okay, the AdWords idea that that's not going to be enough. And I really want to dig into that a little bit, because I know over the years, there have been so many people who have come and gone and tried to replicate what you've done and have failed. And so talk to me about how you figured out what you were going to do with EventMB as a business, and also share, if you wouldn't mind, what worked and what didn't, because I love hearing those stories about, we don't know it all, right out of the gate, and you've had this incredible success. But, I'm imagining it wasn't, maybe it was, but I'm imagining it wasn't just a straight line from where you started to where you are today.
Absolutely. And there's I think there's one moment when you're passionate about something, and I speak to all of those creating content specifically for the event industry, when passion is great, and it's a great starter of the fire. It kind of sets you in the right direction, but you cannot operate just out of passion to make a business. You have to start making tough decisions when it gets to making business. You have to start thinking about yourself. And, we're in the EventProfs community, and I've always tried to have, an audience first type of approach. But there are also times when, if you don't protect yourself, you won't be able to offer that content to event planners. This is something that is missing so much in a lot of initiatives that I see. A lot of people that we lost along the way in terms of voices, started with incredible passion, but then let it go because they got a job offer or whatever. And I had that moment as well, right? Because I clearly remember this. So it was 2009, and I was blogging, but I was also looking for a job. I got the first job that I got in London when I moved there. I moved in London in 2009 during the 2008, at the beginning of the mortgage crisis, like literally that month. So it was very, very interesting to see how eventually I got a job with Amiando, this company that then got acquired by Xing later on. So I started to get some out of it. It was great, but it wasn't paying the bills. So I got this bigger job, something completely unrelated to events. And it was weird. It was, it wasn't my passion, but it was paying the bills. So I kind of started to post less and less. And I remember having a message from Jeff Hurt telling me, what are you doing? Like, we need your voice. You need to come back. Don't leave the blog. Don't do that. So that really motivated me to give it another shot and really invest more and invest in content more. So I started to write a little bit more while I was working and paying the bills, because this is important as well. I'm not a believer in drop everything and start doing that, because you gotta provide and pay for the bills anyway. So, right. But I started writing more. I started working 2 jobs effectively. And in beginning of 2011, Cvent contacted me and said, well, what do you think about running an ad on the blog? And I was like, all right, and I charged the most absurd amount of money that I could think about, which I think was like $2,000, something ridiculous. If you compare it to the hundreds of thousands of dollars companies spend these days, it's just ridiculous. So, but yeah, no, it was like just validation that it could happen. So yeah.
I think that it's such an interesting story, because, there is that moment when it goes from being a creation, something that you're just doing. It's, even if you have the idea of monetizing whatever you create, there is this moment when it's like, oh, wow, okay, yeah. So like ads are now a thing that I'm going to be able to take from people, sponsorships maybe, and it's like, as you're developing this and realizing other people are finding this valuable, it's something that they're seeing, you're a legit media outlet, and people are coming to you that way. But at the same time, you're still having to pay the bills. There's still these other jobs that you're doing. How long? I mean, how long did it go until you just, you were all in at 100% EventMB? Like, what did that look like?
Sure. Well, my mindset shift was pretty direct back then when we got our first ad offering. I had to start thinking like a business, and I used to put a lot of great content. I think some of the best content I've put out has been in the initial years, because it was really driven by passion. So I had to start thinking ruthlessly about being a business, because a lot of the content that I would write was being reused by people that were much better than me at selling and doing the business. So I had to start thinking like a business and protecting my business and being, very, very focused on what I was doing. Okay. So I was very driven into that. And the reason why was that I had my son, in 2011, and I moved from London back to Italy, went to live with my parents, with all of my family, to just bootstrap and start. I had some money on the side to actually just last a few months, and was whatever. Beep it, let's do it, as Rafat, the founder of Skift, says all the time. So we just went for it, and I started working on it. Ads started to come in, and my wife started to work with me eventually, and it became a family business to a certain extent. At the very beginning, we started to have our first people that we had to hire as freelancers, and first people to help us as we were growing. Then it's been growing organically year by year on, hustling and making it happen, trying to be smart, trying to be protective, trying to anticipate stuff that will come along. And, I think the turning point was for us the first Event App Bible we did. That was the 2012, when event apps were kind of the next big thing. And we started to work on these gated reports and selling advertising within it. That was kind of a turning point in our business model as well, how we were generating, because, ads are kind of limited anyway.
Yeah. I do remember when that first came out, and I thought, it's brilliant. I thought that is the smartest thing, because everyone needs that information. They're all curious. And of course, when you're thinking about who wants to get seen, who wants to be in front of these people, of course it's the technology companies, and it's like all of these different folks who are you have the appropriate audience. So the business model starts to change, and you realize, okay, this works. Are there things that you what began to shift at that point? What did you discover at that point about the business model? Because until then, it was primarily the blog, and you had advertising. Had events started at that point? Had you started doing events at that point?
No, to be honest, we've never done almost events ever until last year, 2 years ago, because, our business, and this was about being focused as well. For us, the business that we were in were content. Now, the content happened to be events. That doesn't mean you have to do events necessarily if it doesn't fit with the structure and how laid out the company is, which was 2 employees and a bunch of freelancers. So events are a risky business if you don't have big shoulders. So we never felt like this was the right step for us until very recently.
So was there ever a point when you regretted the fact that your entire family was pulled into working on the same thing? Because it's hard to get away from it when that's where you're sort of focused on, with all of your energy, right?
Yeah, it is. It's been tough at times. It's been great as well, because I've been working from home for 14 years, 10 years now. And, I've been able to be there with my family as well. So, I'm one of the few when the pandemic hit, I was like, no big change for me, other than going out and in restaurants. I've always worked from home. So I've always been here. So it's been obviously tough at times to work with my wife as well. It's working together, but, very rewarding at the same time. We've shared so much in that sense, and it's been very fulfilling. There's been other times where, we tried to solve the business multiple times. So, and we were about to close twice before closing the actual close that we did with other companies.
Are you serious? Wait.
Yes.
Okay, wait. So when did that start happening?
Well, that was later on. Later on, we saw that, we were doing extremely well and the business was doing greatly, but there was a lot of concern every year, right? Because every year you have to start from scratch. And when the whole family is invested in it, it becomes super, super tough to manage. Don't get me wrong, we kept on growing year over year. We never had a year where we were not growing. But every year comes, October time, you're worrying, like, are we going to close? Are we going to be? And the competition started to bump up. And then you have companies like Eventbrite and Cvent doing incredible content programs with dozens of people, millions of dollars of budget. You have to compete with that eventually, right?
Yeah.
So all of that was very tough to hold every year. So we said, you know what, I think the next transition is better if we get acquired by someone and we become part of a larger organization, and we can keep on doing what we're doing, but as part of a bigger environment. So that's what we had in mind, and that's what I tried to do multiple times before actually making it. We had a couple of huge failures in that, I would say, that really trashed us because we were so close to close in both instances, and it didn't happen at the last second in both instances. This is something as a small business owner that completely crashes you, really trashes you. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had no idea. It's from the outsider's perspective, when you're watching someone like yourself and like, with a very public facing, I mean, EventMB always putting stuff out, it looks like success after success after success. And people don't see the difficulties that arise sometimes along the way. We talked about the change in the business model. What were some things that and this is so interesting to me. I'm so curious about this because there are so many things that I've tried and didn't work with association chat even, but then things that I was like, oh, that actually seems to work out pretty well. What were some things that worked and some things that didn't work along the way? Like, what did you see where it was like, okay, I tried this and that's just not going to fly? Did you have anything like that, or?
Oh, of course, dozens of things, especially when you're like always trying to do something different and be ahead of the game. You have to fail miserably many times.
Yeah.
We tried, lots of stuff that didn't work. Partnerships with, whenever it's been very, very commercially oriented, I've seen that never delivered 100%. That's kind of a mantra they adopted very soon. Whenever it was all about, the nude and crude type of commercial reality of presenting just an ad or something like that, it was, I mean, for some people it may work, but wasn't delivering kind of the big breakthroughs that you needed to grow more and to sustain. It was at that stage, once you start growing and you start having people working with you and you're the boss, you kind of have all these families you need to support to a certain extent. So I always felt, the responsibility of that in running my business, of the people that were dependent on how we were performing as well, outside of my family as well. So lots of stuff. Whenever it's been very transactional, it never worked, I would say. Then we tried communities at some stage that didn't necessarily work. We tried doing things in different platforms that didn't work. We tried live video at some stage, but it wasn't well thought out. So you always have to also prove the concept a little bit. But we always started with the sponsors in mind. That's important as well, because people like to think that we started with the content, but we actually started with the sponsors in mind first, and talking to them and pitching to them some ideas. And if we get a good response, we share the risk of trying it together. Instead of, I see a lot of content initiatives that go with the content first. That wasn't the case. We couldn't afford that because there was so much to pull out. Every things start piling up.
Speaking of which, let me just throw this at the bottom of the page. So here's the patreon.com if you want to give some support to Association Chat. So it is, I think it's been an interesting ride to see you maintain your integrity, because you've always done that. People can trust what you say. And I think, one of the things that I've admired you for watching you over the years has been that in spite of the fact that you clearly, you have this business, you have a business to run, you're wanting to make a profit, all along the way, there are opportunities to, make money by endorsing or putting your name behind something or your brand behind something. And all along the way, you've been very careful. You've been very, very careful with your words, and with the kind of relationships that you have in the events industry. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, because that is, I don't know how many people really know kind of what an intricate dance that is, but that's a very difficult and interesting and complicated sort of relationship that exists there. And there are many different ways to conduct oneself when you're in that situation. So can you talk to me about like how you made those decisions? And, I don't know if you had any sort of hard and fast rules that you followed along the way with it.
No, that's a great question. It's probably been some of the most difficult. Hey, Miguel, how are you?
Hey, Miguel. Hey. Yeah, you should be up here too.
Yeah,
I know. He's so awesome.
sorry. I was just confused for a second, but what I was saying, yeah, tough choices. It's just probably something that making that decision has not earned me a lot of friends. But earned me a lot of people that still to date really, don't like me. That's fine. That's totally fine. I sort
Me
of moved
too.
away.
That's so awesome.
Right? I mean, I've moved away from the business of being liked by everyone
Yeah.
quite a while ago. And I don't shy away from a conversation, an open conversation, online. I always enjoy having fights online all the time. So whenever I've been
Fun for us.
confronted, I've been answering to those. I'm not afraid of that. If
Yeah.
and even to be wrong and change my mind on many things. So in terms of the policy, how have I approached that? I think I've published probably 2 or 3 press releases in 15 years on the blog, because I was seeing what the rest of the media landscape was doing, and I was like, I'm not going to do that because there's no value in it. Like, what's the value of reading a press release? What's the value of being, and opening the gate to whatever your boss, which is not your boss, is just paying your bills, and they decide whatever you say. There's no value in that. I think we were quite revolutionary in the way we did that for the event industry. I don't think any other publication did that to the extent that we did it. I've been in client calls as well, where my wife, Carmen, who was in charge of sales, literally hated me to the bone because I was upsetting clients, essentially saying, no, we're not going to do that. I've had junior teams of content writers coming on calls on sales telling me, we want to do this, and this is the commercial message. I was like, no, you're paying us because we know how to portray your brand best to our audience. So you got to trust me with that. Otherwise, I'll give you your money back right now. I obviously used to do that quite a lot at the beginning. But then, kind of also calm down a little bit with time. And I toned down quite a lot in terms of my, I guess, Italian part of being very involved in what I do. And try to understand also the other part as well. Because, when people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars with you, they want to see a result. So trying to understand both parts is very important, and say, yes, we can achieve this result if you trust me with providing value to the companies, to the audience I work with every day. And there's the only thing I bring to the table here is that I know how my readers think. So I know what they want, and I know how they think. I try to guess it in the best possible way. So I've been lucky to get the trust of these people, but a lot of other people that try to start content plans for their association. I've been the most hated person in the association world in the event industry for a while. So, just recently we amended with some, thanks to the turnover of their management. We've got along much better recently, but at the very beginning we were like super vocal. I mean, if you remember the Twitter chats we used to do at the beginning of all of this, we were like trashing MPI and all of that.
Yeah.
Now most of the people on those chats are now part of MPI, so that's good.
I know. It's funny because we, as you get older, and things evolve, you find that you're in these different positions. It changes one's perspective a little. But I do believe that we're all kind of still the rebels and the ones who are, I don't want to say revolutionaries, but the people who are just crying for the truth, right? We're crying for the truth, and we ultimately want the best for folks. We just don't know that everyone in charge has all the right answers.
That's good. It's part of the process. Sometimes you need that voice that tells you, you got to change. But sometimes I think it's also important to understand why certain things are done in a certain way, and why some people push back on some stuff. I've been more understanding of that part in the last part of my career. I was very, very vigorous in being against the establishment. Mm-hmm. Then I became part of the establishment to a certain extent, and I understood their reasons why they were doing certain things. And I tried to be a little bit more balanced where I could. Now, for people following me on Twitter, probably over the last year, it was like balanced. Not really, not happening. But, trust me, I could have been way more incendiary in the things that I could have said.
I know.
And I also guess with the following that you grow, you start to think how you get a lot of feedback from people, right? You start getting a lot of people writing you. We got like 100,000, 120,000 readers at EventMB, right? Subscribed in one way or another. So you kind of start getting a lot of people writing to you, like, why did you say that? Why did you do this? Why you're not doing this? So you shape your voice quite a lot, thinking about whenever which kind of puts you kind of in a cage after a while, because it's like, whenever you start writing something, you're like, you think about it like 4 or 5 times before you go out, because you know that it's going to have some sort of effect on people.
Oh, so, I wanted to ask you about that. By the way, incendiary for sure, because you posted something not too long ago that our friend Tahira commented on about people who have books that are organized by color. Like me, like I do. And not like something about they don't read those books or something.
Yeah.
And but you gave me an exception.
I know you do read them.
Yes.
I know, but and I there's a difference. There's always a difference to be made. You see, that came across completely wrong. So that's a perfect example of I should have shut up. Probably, I don't know. I was like,
I love it.
Of the pandemic, it's a tough time. There's moments where you're like, I'm just gonna let it out. I was like, I told her, Tahira, Kiki is the exception to the rule there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I was like referring more to those that sort of overnight planted together their home thing, and
I know.
They were trying to be smart. But probably what was coming out of their mouth wasn't matching the books in the background. That's what I was trying to say.
I've definitely seen that. And I do want to just point out, Corbin, thank you for commenting. Corbin says, Julius, I love your passion for the industry. You've helped advance event tech enormously. Wish you the best in your move to Swapcard.
So let me tell this, because Corbin has been an inspiration, has been a mentor, has been one of the most genuine and kind people I've ever seen in the industry. I remember he stopped me at my first IBTM, and I had sort of this fanboy moment where he stopped me and said, I saw the things you did with this Event Bible thing. That is good, Julius. Keep on doing that. So, that was like starstruck, it was incredible what that did to my confidence, because sometimes you have to have a lot of confidence to go out with these things and expose yourself with your persona to critics and whatever is going to come on. So Corbin has been instrumental to this. He's been the real sort of visionary with all of this. He's been the one that I have followed. Whenever I was thinking about writing something, it was already like ahead on this. And he's here as something that I wish I had more of: respect from everybody. He's the most respected person in event technology right now.
He really is. See, Cameron even says so. Cameron saying Corbin is awesome. I honestly don't know anyone who doesn't love Corbin. So that is absolutely true. I think that's another aspect of all of this, though, is the toll that it takes to be so public, so visible in a space, and someone who has been, really, I would say, great about sticking to your guns. I mean, you let me put it another way. Someone who, is truthful, just someone who's truthful. And you've done that even when it wasn't in your best interest. And so I think it's very difficult. I always look at you as somebody who is very confident and secure in what you're saying and what you're doing and in every move. That's part of why I was so excited about doing this interview, is because, how you navigate and handle everything from your health, your physical fitness, your business, your family, your all of these different things. A person sort of watches from a distance and sees that and tries to figure out, how does this person make decisions? What goes into that? Does he ever have a hard day? So to hear that,
you pick a good wife, that's what you do.
Well, I have a good husband.
That's what you see. For me, it was like 70% of it has been the contribution that my wife did on the back to build the business. Like, this is like, I've been the voice and the face of this, but you don't even understand how instrumental it's been having a partner in this that honestly grew the business and made the business operational. I'm not good at that. I'm honestly the not 100% not good at that. I mean, yes, I can write, I can do things, can make things easier. I can go on stage and I can present, even if I was like super overweight and it was, a big problem at the beginning, right? And I'm an introvert by nature, but I can force myself to do those things. I kind of have to step up and do it at some stage. So, my wife, Carmen, has been instrumental in making the business work, help us sell the business, things like that. You don't just sell to a company because you're inspirational or you know how to talk. It's not going to happen. So this is like almost like 80-20 in terms of effort. Like, you see me around taking all the glory for it, but that's not what happened on the background. And people at Skift know that very, very well, because Carmen has moved to Skift with me as well. So it's been incredible. But it also means that you have to sacrifice a lot. You have to, I've never posted, like, I think it's the first time in an interview that I mentioned I have a son. Like, I don't even post anything personal. It's not because of filters. I've never posted anything personal on social media ever, because that's my job. That's, for me, is my business. I don't want to expose a lot of that. I don't want to be, that's Rafa, that's my colleague. Hey, Rafa, super in France. I've never thought that, it can actually, you have to sacrifice that part. You cannot give it away. You have to be ultra focused on what you do and be out there and keep on going on that direction and avoid all the the different hurdles of that. But you got to have a huge, humongous effort behind you in terms of a team that believes in it. Even the people that started with EventMB, I'm thinking about Becky Cross and Camille Wagner, all these people, our designer Bea, these incredible people. Bea's been with us for like 15 years, almost, like whatever. Whenever we started, she was there already 2-3 years in. Simone, our developer. Incredible people that really believed in the project and like really couldn't mind. Even when we moved to the US, they were working, midnight. They didn't have to, but they were there because they cared. They felt responsibility for it. So that's been a lot of the part of the success.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm going to go back to some of the comments that were coming in as you were telling your story, because Tahira, hey, Tahira, says Carmen is a star. And yes, I agree. The only exception I will say is that she took a picture of us, Julius, at IMEX the year that the Skift thing was like all announced. And I never got that picture. I never did.
Oh, God.
I never got that picture.
Yeah, Carmen is listening right now. So that's why I'm complimenting a lot. She's listening.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, she's going to send you that picture right now.
And then Liz says, hi guys. Hi Liz. Hey, great to see you.
Liz is one of those, part of those, Tahir and Liz, part of those early voices that we still have. We're lucky to have. Back and forth when Liz sort of retired her taxi talk, I was like almost like having a Jeff Hurt moment with her, where I was like writing her and saying like, why are you doing this? Like, we need your voice. Don't do this. Like, we need you to be there. So you see, and people like Bob that I see here.
I know. Watch out for Bob.
I remember being with him at IMEX in Frankfurt in like 2012. He was with this funny guy called Torben at this crazy dinner for the Meeting Design Institute. And we were there, and they were like pitching me about their incredible mobile app with like a Canadian and a German together. And Bob has been one of the people that believed so much in EventMB and helped us grow so much through the years in different cycles. I've always been there and always been a huge supporter. Like, even the sponsors, like that's one of the things that I want to reiterate. People like Bob, people like Eric Amram at Evenium, these people that, people like Reggie at Cvent, that really believed in what we were doing. And it became almost family, like friends. Like, even if I joined like their competitor in some cases, like yesterday, they're like sending messages of appreciation. That's what counts to me, because it just made it so special.
Yeah, I love the community. I think that there are so many amazing people who are still writing and creating and making things and really moving the industry forward. And I know over in the association space where there's some, I get to kind of dip in over to the events industry and then come back over to association world. It's like you really do admire the creators, the people who are out there who really, the work that goes into that, that it can be such a super challenge. I have to say, watching you navigate that and maneuver through all of that, and then to go, okay, let's go to Skift works. That works. So EventMB gets acquired, right? And so what happens next from there? Take me to that part of the story.
So, funnily enough, you see how these things happen. We were in another Fresh dinner in Frankfurt. No, it was in Las Vegas. It was here in Vegas for my first time ex America. And Miguel, who was here, was a dear friend, and we go back to the London times. So 2008, 2010, that was the time. And he was a student still, so I'm that old. And, he introduced me to this guy. He's like, oh, you have to meet this guy. He's called Greg Oates. He writes for meetings and events at Skift, this up and coming publication. I was like, publication? What do you mean? Competitor? Okay, all right. We'll meet. And I started fighting with Greg online and we became friends. And I could already tell that what Skift was doing with meetings and events was extremely interesting. And they really had that different aspect of talking about news and content that we really shared. I was scared of them for a while, to be honest, because they were doing some amazing stuff. So, looking at my turf, but, they were in a different direction anyway. They were very interesting in meetings and events. And then, so Greg at some stage in 2019 introduced me to Rafat, and was the CEO and founder of Skift. And, I was mesmerized by Rafa's personality and his leadership in the travel industry in general. Our stories were very similar. They were, we were obviously with different big differences, but, he moved from India to London to US. I moved from Italy to London to US. By the way, and I got to move to the US thanks to the blog as well, which is something that I never credit enough because, my visa got granted because of the blog. So I was very, very lucky for that. And, so all of that was very, very similar. I guess, we started talking to Rafa and we aligned on everything. Like it's incredible how Skift operated and EventMB operated, where it's so similar. There was like such a match there. And yeah, we made it happen. We were like ecstatic about it. We announced it at IMEX in 2019. It seems like 15 years ago now, the last IMEX we ever attended. We did this incredible party at Nobu in one of the suites. Small party with family and friends, and we just were announced the news, and we had really everybody in the room. It was fantastic, from Reggie, Karina, all the CEOs of the top companies in tech and outside. Everybody was coming to me. It was like, this room is amazing. It was like incredible room. We were so happy. Rafat flew from New York overnight and then flew back. And then we started this adventure, and we started coordinating. We had incredible plans to make the two things go together, which started to go, and we started shifting some of the things, started doing our live events already by then. And then we got to January 2020. That's what happened. That's kind of the end of the previous story of EventMB, because then it started a new cycle for EventMB in January 2020. That's when things started to change dramatically for both Skift and EventMB.
Yeah. So take us there then, because of course 2020, in retrospect, 2020 was quite the year. So let's talk about 2020.
I don't want to talk for Skift because Rafat obviously is being super public as he is. Rafat is like one of those people that really is about what you see is what you get. Like whatever you see, like he always usually posts first on Twitter and then posts the same thing on Slack internally. It's not the other way around. Like, how some people post internally some things and then they say something else like polished on social media. He used to do the opposite. Probably is more polished with the team than on social media. So he's been very open about how it's been a challenging year for Skift, right? They had to furlough some people and let go some others. So, but hold super tight, and it's been incredible proof of resilience and incredible, demonstration of the affection that the readers of Skift have for the publication. Incredible job that Tom Lowry, the editor-in-chief, but also Jason Clampett, the head of product, they've been able to pivot so fast. Brian Quinn, but of course, on top of everybody else, Carolyn Kramins, the president, who's, to be honest, like to all the women following, you should follow what she does. Such an inspiration for women in business. Is just unbelievable. Like when you see the whole world collapsing and, everything crumbling down and traveling being banned, and, you rely on airlines and hotels and destinations. What do you do, right? So that was Skift. And then there was EventMB. And one of the most painful thing for me last year has been to navigate the industry through this change. It's probably one of the toughest thing I had to do in my life in terms of following the news and having to go and write articles with a bunch of bad news for the industry constantly. And then seeing people writing to me that the business was collapsing and they were losing money and all of that. It's been a nightmare to manage on a personal level. It's been one of the toughest moments of my life ever to manage all of that and go through all of that. But at some stage, you have to step up and do what you got to do. And then I did what I had to do. And, within this crazy mess, we had the best year ever at EventMB last year. It was the most successful year we've ever had. And I'm glad that we did that as part of Skift. So we were able to contribute to Skift as well. And, Rafa mentioned it on Twitter, so I can see it. We beat our revenue goal by 50%,
Wow.
which was pre-pandemic revenue goal. So it was just mental. We used to do webinars before that with I still remember Ronnie Higgins, who's a good friend of mine, ex-content lead for Eventbrite. I remember the webinar we did together, and we had 1,300 people show up. And we were like, wow, this is mind-blowing. All of a sudden, I see 12,000 people registered to an event. And I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Like, I've never seen anything quite like it. Even like the event we did on Tuesday, we had 7,000 people registered to it. Still incredible numbers. Like, it's just beyond under the kind of trust that the audience had in us is just unbelievable. We venture it together. I just got a message yesterday from Taylor from, oh God, I forgot her name, from a production company that participated in our very first event. And I literally found her article on LinkedIn. It just popped through my mind. I put together the agenda in 2 days for that first event that we did, the Pivot to Virtual. And Taylor asked us, she wrote this article on LinkedIn on virtual. And I said, you guys should come on board and talk. Husband and wife should talk about the production. That was the best session of that event. She just sent me a message yesterday when I announced I was leaving EventMB. She literally said she got a $250,000 contract out of that event that
Wow.
saved their family for the year because they lost all of the business leading to that event. So with that single event, so a lot of stories like that, so many stories like that. And it was an incredible year.
I think so. It was incredible at one point during the year, especially toward the beginning of everything really, really hitting. I remember there's a point on Twitter where there was I sent you a message. I sent you a direct message that it had to do with people there were a lot of people who were kind of coming out of the woodwork and they wanted help with their business, right? And I saw it on the side, what I could see from association chat. I couldn't imagine what you were seeing on your side, but I knew that you must be getting just inundated with a lot of, what can you do? How can you, can you have me on? Can you, do a webinar for me? Can you do this stuff? And I remember sending a thing out like, yeah, you must just be going crazy with all of this.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. And the messages, after the events we've done last year in terms of people saying, yes, this is helping me to refocus and think about what I need to do next. And, this is helping me during the lockdown because I'm depressed or whatever. So yeah, that's been a huge part of it that kept me going because at the end of the day, all the events we did, it was just myself and Lauren, my colleague, working on the back of the event. That was that. So, all the events we did last year, we did with zero budget and with 2 people working on it, with obviously the help of SpotMe and their support. That's been crucial, I must say. the helps of Skift, obviously in the back, but even like that, they couldn't do that much, right? And
Yeah.
they were running their events, we were doing our own thing, it was down to us. It was so obviously Carmen on the selling like crazy and trying to make sure that we could sell as much as we could, but we did it in like 2-3 people, and we had 50,000 people participating to our event in a year. That's like 5 IMAX. That's unbelievable. The sheer volume that we got last year, but we did it just with thinking every month, what do people need to know about? What do they need to plan about? Like how can we help them? And I was picking up the session, was very lucky that everybody that I reached out to, I said, I feel horrible to do this, but there's no budget in this. Like, if you want to do it, I know you're going to get something out of it. Because I was telling all the people that participated at the events, they were saying, thank you so much. I'm getting business out of it. That made me feel better. Also, getting speakers to talk that didn't get any paid. And as a speaker myself, I hate when that happens.
I cannot believe I only have 4 more minutes with you.
I know.
And I'm like, I still have like so many questions to ask. What I really wanted to know before I let you go was how so you, after 14 years, Swapcard's amazing. I wanted to talk about that. I'm afraid we're running out of time, but
I'll talk about it. Just kidding.
But it's like the decision to move from EventMB after 14 years, Julius. How does it feel freeing? Do you feel like you're like released into the open and you're how are you feeling as you're going into this really, I mean, I have to say this new gig sounds ass. It sounds amazing, like it sounds really incredible. I think Swapcard's amazing. The head of engagement, you're going to be doing such cool stuff. But what does it feel like leaving EventMB at this point?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's the decision has not been an easy one. It's been the second most difficult moment of the past year, which tops it in the top 3 of my life probably, compared to losing someone close to you or something like that. In terms of intensity, it's been super intense, and it's not been an easy one. And it's not like I had amazing people on both ends. So this is nothing to do with necessarily the organizations, or you're not happy with Skift, or they're doing something nasty to you. I worked with Skift 1.5 years. I could have left the company earlier if I wanted to. So absolutely not. I was doing something that I love to do. Yes, it was tough and difficult, but I was doing it and I was enjoying it. My habits, I could do whatever I wanted. I had my team that I built for the years. No stress. Rafa told me essentially, do whatever you want to do. That's the best kind of brief you can have when you're like me. So it's nothing there. Some personal reasons in that decision as well. Which I won't go into details of that, but some personal reasons for sure.
Yeah.
Then the opportunity to do something exciting. It's no secret that I'm passionate about technology. Like, I love tech. That's why I got into blogging to begin with. And I work with all the clients of EventMB. 90% of them have been technology companies. So I know exactly very well how things move in that environment. So, it was, I have a friend that works at Swapcard who's super sneaky, which is Matthew Donegan Ryan, who sold Crowd Compass to Cvent. And, he's been the kind of person in the back, sort of introducing me and then having chats and stuff like that. And honestly, at the beginning, I didn't think this could materialize. But then I spoke to Baptiste Boulard, the CEO, and despite the fact he's French and I'm Italian, we got along pretty well. And, we got along very well. I was expecting that to go so well. And once again, I got kind of a mandate to do whatever I want to do, and that's the kind of mandate that works with me. and we'll see what happens. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's just a big change, right? And this is moments of change. So I don't think there's another moment that you can have that big of a change. So that's my change today. And I'm going to be at Evolve next week, our free event for 3 days. I'm going to get to interview Duncan Wardle, the ex-head of innovation for Disney. So, I'm living the life. I have an amazing team of people that are following this as well. Mia, Raphael, Julian, amazing people. So very, very lucky to be in a new environment, and we'll see what happens.
Oh my gosh, Julius, thank you so much for talking to me. I feel so excited that we got to just chat and talk about your life and the history of EventMB. And I feel like there was still so much more that I wanted to ask about, but it truly has been a pleasure. And I do want to say, on behalf of all of the people who are watching and all the people who will listen in the future, thank you for the incredible work that you have done consistently over all of these years to be an honest broker, to be an honest voice in the industry. Thank you.
No, thank you, Kiki. Thank you for what you have done and what you keep on doing with Association Chat, and for the resilience in keeping having your voice out there. That's what we need more of. And I'll always be a fan.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. Thank you so much, Julius. Okay, kicking Julius off. Thank you so much for watching this incredible interview, listening to this incredible interview. Julius truly is just somebody I've always really admired, the work that he's done. And I'm thankful to Julius. I'm thankful to all of you for watching. And I hope you feel inspired. We're going to keep watching Julius to see what he does, to watch what happens with Swapcard, to see how all of this stuff progresses. But I hope that until next time, everyone, you keep asking questions to learn every day. Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So have a great rest of the week, everyone.